Good afternoon. Well, I just want to give a very short welcome and thank you to all of you for coming today. As my siblings have said, all of you are very dear to our mother. I just thought I would echo one short story that I think is consistent with what my sisters have also relayed, but I was thinking about when I was coming to the college, and I think a little before I was going to come over here, and actually I think she was having Ann that weekend that I was starting at the college, so my grandparents brought me here, but before I came, she left me a little booklet, and it was one of these kind of Hallmark booklets that was titled "Things I Never Told You," and it was something from your mother to your daughter, and which wasn't really her style, but you know, it was very. I thought it was very thoughtful, and I don't remember anything that was in the booklet. But what I do remember that she told me, the note that she wrote me, which I think is very in keeping with what Jane and Ann and others have echoed, is she said, "The most important thing is to pray always." So I think that's something that was always on her mind, and I think it's a good thought for her to leave with us, and I will certainly remember that. I think of it often when I think of her. And so in all events, I want to thank all of you so much for coming, and thank you so much to Paul O'Reilly and to the college for hosting us. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to Father Sebastian to say a few words.
I'm deeply honored that the Neumayr family has asked me to do not only Jack's funeral, but now Bridget's. They were very, very dear to me. I love them dearly. I could never figure out why they loved me, but they really did. And I'm grateful for that. It is not an overstatement to say that without the wives of the founders, the college would not exist. That's a clear statement. I don't know if it's an overstatement to say that without Bridget, individually, the college wouldn't exist, but I know the college would have been a much worse place or a less good place if she hadn't contributed and made the sacrifices that she made. When I remember first meeting Bridget at an event down in the Hacienda, I was a freshman in college at the time. I think there was some kind of soiree with students and tutors and their families, and so I came down, and I remember Jack introducing me to Bridget and their preteen daughter. And so Jack says, well, this is my wife, Bridget, and my daughter, Ann. And so that's the first time I remember meeting Ann down there at the Hacienda. And then eventually I came to be a student of Jack's, and he had a habit of inviting his class to their home for a meal, some kind of a big dinner for the whole class at one point. And Jack, he really savored giving directions, if you noticed that. But he really, he kind of tell you, describe the whole thing and the scenery along the way, and, remember, if you've gone past Mrs. Gooch's, you've gone too far, He would kind of savor giving directions, so I never forgot how to get to 42 Avenida de los Arboles. And it was a wonderful, elegant meal. And I remember very distinctly, speaking with and visiting with Bridget on that occasion. I remember thinking, I'm from the United States. I've never had any experience of aristocracy. I said, oh, this is what an aristocrat looks like. That's what I thought. I thought she must be an aristocrat. That's how she was. And she had the education and the manners of an aristocrat. The content of her faith was that of a theologian, but the quality of her faith was that of a child or a peasant. She just had a firm faith that, that the simplest child would have. And it was a beautiful combination. And I made many, many visits to Avenida de los Arboles over those years. After I graduated, I would come. On one occasion, I actually invited Jack and Bridget down to my apartment all the way down in Huntington Beach for dinner because they had invited me so many times to their place and I wanted to invite them. And so I was talking on the phone to Jack and I said, would you and Bridget honor me with your presence at my apartment for dinner? And Jack says, well, that's quite a drive. and I said, I've bought a bottle of 1984 Chateau Margaux for dinner. And he says, I like Bordeaux. Would Tuesday be fine? So Bridget dutifully accompanied him in the car on the 2.5-hour drive down to Huntington Beach, and I was able to host them at my apartment, which is lovely and beautiful. And then many times when I came to be a chaplain of the summer program at Thomas Aquinas College, one of the things I looked forward to every year was that night when I could take out and go to Jack and Bridget's home for dinner. And Jack always wanted to talk about philosophy and theology, and Bridget would be happy and she would talk about that. But when Bridget would start a branch of the conversation, she always wanted to talk about you. That was what she was always interested in. She wanted to talk about you. And one of the themes that seems to have come out in many of the eulogies today was the fact that Bridget, it was hard to get her to talk about herself. And most of her, accomplishments were largely hidden even to the people who knew her closely, And that was a testament not only to her beautiful humility, but her own security as a daughter of God. She didn't feel the need to impress anyone. She was, comfortable as a daughter of God, a beautiful thing. I'll share one last story. And I know her family knows this story, but I suspect not many of the faculty knows the story because I shared it with Paul and Peggy earlier today and they didn't know this story. So on one occasion I was over there for dinner and Jack and Bridget told me the story about their honeymoon. So what happened was that they got married. I think they got married in England. Did they get married in England or was it here in the States?
Yeah, they couldn't get married in England.
They couldn't get married in England. In any case, they had this all-encompassed, prepaid for, like month-long honeymoon in Europe or something. And they got married, and then, for whatever reason, Bridget's visa did not come through.
I think they weren't, just to tell
Oh, yes.
I think there was an immigration issue. So immigration issues were always a problem, but if they were going to get married in England, then they were not going to be able to come back to the United States. And so they decided, okay, this big British wedding is off, and we'll get married in New Jersey in some period of time later. But so they actually did not get married in England.
So they got married here. But I remember them telling me that because they couldn't go to Europe together, Bridget insisted and said, we paid for it, you're going. So Jack went the first month of his marriage and did a tour through Europe, sent lots of postcards back. That kind of tells you about both of them, to be honest. Bridget was never happy unless she could make you happy. That was her mission in life, was to make people feel at ease, happy, that cared for. And it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. So I'm grateful for her love. I'm grateful for her friendship, Jack's friendship. They've been very formative for me. And so I reiterate just my request in today's homily. Please, let's all pray for both of them and hope that one day we'll be enjoying that eternal wedding banquet, not in Great Britain, but somewhere better in heaven. And at this point, I'd like to call up Tom Suzanka, if he's here, if he could say a few words.
Father, you practically lip-synced me for what I had to say. Very briefly, I was reminded of the word joy, thanks to you today. I think St. Thomas says someplace that it's what rises in the soul at its possession of a great good, its secure possession of a great good. And in my last 2 decades, I would say, I came to enjoy and the joy of real friendship with both Jack and Bridget. We would meet, like Father, I would come, maybe this will be a surprise to my bosses, but I was often down visiting with Jack and Bridget when I had other school business to do. So on the way home, I would stop, not infrequently, with a bottle of wine, or they had a bottle of wine just on hand. And Bridget would set a table for us, the breakfast nook, with cheeses and crackers and things from the local Trader Joe's. And we would then, for hours, discuss, of course, geography, especially after their trips around the country and the world, but also genealogy, politics, history, of course, philosophy and theology. And Bridget your mother was a very regular participant, which I think took some fortitude, because, Jack had a million things on his mind, and they were wonderful to hear. So being with them was sort of an adventure. But I felt a great peace and a great welcome, Father, like you, I think. And I've looked back on this a little bit and think it was your mother's effort to make me more deeply a friend of her husband. And I think now I sort of interpret that sort of Mona Lisa smile that she had as something like, I approve of you, Tom, you're on the same team. After all, we both love Jack. And I say now with Father, we should pray for joy and make an effort to accumulate matters which are joyful for us. And I, for one, would be joyful beyond belief to be able to rejoin in those conversations with the Neumeyrs. So, many thanks to your mother, I think, for making that possible. Thank you.
So I think we'll stop there, but thank you so much again to all of you. And all of you brought so much joy to our parents, and the college really was, as Anne said, sort of the center of their lives. And I remember that when I came here with my mom for our dad's funeral, and we went over to Ojai to, I think we went to see the Kaisers and Rose and Danny and others, and she said, this is where my friends are. So I think, she would be very happy with today, and so just thank you from all of our family, to all of you who've come, and thank you for praying for her, and we will pray for you.